Dear students, let us start the third part of our lesson, which will be learning on commenting on hypothesis and matching interpretation with the objectives. We decide on the hypothesis by comparing the test statistic calculated value and critical value or table value. If the test statistic calculated value is less than critical value or table value, then we accept the null hypothesis with alpha % level of significance. As earlier mentioned in our previous lessons, that is, your calculated value and critical value will decide your hypothesis whether you are going to accept or reject. Otherwise, if the test statistic calculated value is greater than or equal to critical value or table value, then we reject the null hypothesis with alpha % level of significance. As you know that while making the decisions in our real time life, you will be making some errors. Similarly, while deciding on accepting the hypothesis, one may commit two types of errors. Let us see what are the errors. Type 1 error: if your null hypothesis H0 is true, but the test procedure rejects, then the error made is called type 1 error or alpha error. You can see that I can make you with a simple example that in a quality control, when you are going for accepting checking the product may be a quality 1, but you may be rejecting it. That is what you can go with an type 1 errors. Similarly, type 2 error: if your null hypothesis H0 is false, but the test accepts it, the error committed is called type 2 error or beta error. Now, the probability of a type 1 error is alpha, probability of type 2 error is beta. Similarly, alpha can be called as a size of a type 1 error, beta is called the size of a type 2 error. So, the probability of rejecting a good lot will be alpha, probability of accepting a bad lot will be beta. I again come over to the previous example, quality control here, that is I mentioned as a lot. The lot is nothing but the collection of products. Let I can make you a simple example as, let you are having a chalk piece box which contains 100 chalk pieces in a box, that is a box can be called as a lot. If you are rejecting a lot or accepting a lot will be decided on the sample which you are going to choose, and you have been checking the quality of the chalk piece. Let the chalk piece quality may be length, width and breakable strength. These are all the basic qualities to check a quality chalk piece. So, for this, if you have been rejecting a good lot, it means that the 100 chalk pieces are good, but you are rejecting it, that is you are making an alpha type of error. Similarly, you have been making the beta type of error where it has been a bad lot. Generally, if we perform the testing of hypothesis through softwares like SPSS or Python or any other, then the p value, probability value will be obtained. Here in our real time data sets, you will be having a larger data sets where you are not able to compute them manually, then you must go for the softwares. So, here you can see some list SPSS or Python and many other softwares are there. Among them you can calculate your hypothesis, but here you cannot get your table value or critical value as earlier. Here you will be getting a p value, that is your probability value will be obtained. Similarly, you are not going to compare your p value with respect to your calculated value, you are going for your alpha, that is your level of significance. If the p value less than alpha value, then we reject the null hypothesis, otherwise we accept. Earlier we made it as an, if it is less than we made it as an accept, and if it is greater than we made it as an reject, but here it will be reversed, that you have to note here. The other way to infer the accepting the null hypothesis is to consider the insignificant. As I mentioned earlier, that is your H0 will be defined as there is no significant difference between statistic and parameter, that is that the significance will be verified, and this insignificance will be contributed by the variable towards the study. Similarly, the inference on rejecting the null hypothesis will be significant or significance will be contributed by the variable towards the study. So, here the significant will speaks about the changes happened in the sample or the population. Now we come to the end of part 3 of this lesson. Here we have learnt how to infer the testing of hypothesis in manually, at the same time in a software based. Then coming to the conclusion of our lesson, we have been learnt 3 different parts here. In the first, we have been went with the definition of sample and population and its need. Then we went in the second part on testing of hypothesis, the procedure, how we have been working. Then further we moved to the part 3 on inferring the testing of hypothesis. Students, I am confident that you understood all the concepts which I have covered in this lesson. Hypothesis testing for categorical variables and inference about frequencies. We will continue in the next video. Thank you.